Hi, Steve here, and what you see right now is the space shooter game that I've been recently working on. It's just like any other space shooter, except for the fact that the spaceship is hooked to the center of the screen, and the player needs to destroy incoming space junk from all directions. The basic gameplay was to make the spaceship point towards the cursor and be able to shoot in that direction, implementing which was pretty easy as I just had to set the spaceship's up vector point in the same direction as the vector from the spaceship to the cursor. Then I implemented the bullet, for which all I had to do was move the bullet in the same direction as the up vector of the spaceship and make sure that the bullet gets destroyed once it goes out of the visible screen or collides with the other in-game objects. Well, we have a spaceship that can shoot now, but the game's still pretty boring because all we have is a spaceship that can rotate and shoot. And besides, we can shoot, but we have nothing to shoot at. So we definitely need something to shoot at. Enter space junk.
Space junk.
Well, I'm actually talking about these space junks. The implementation for the space junk was pretty straightforward. All I had to do was instantiate a junk object in a random location out of the visible window and then set its type, because there are 5 different kinds of junk, and then make it move towards the spaceship. I also had to make sure that it damages the spaceship when it collides with the spaceship and then destroys itself. Furthermore, I also made different kinds of junk have different mass, toughness, and so on. Then we have power-ups, the implementation for which is very similar to that of junk, except that they don't deal any damage to the spaceship and gives a power-up to the player on being destroyed by shooting. The power-ups are very basic, like health boost, bullet upgrade, shield, and so on. There's also a special power-up, I call it Explodo Nuke, which destroys all the junk. So we have the basic elements of the game ready, and because the game is a very simple one, a large portion of the gameplay relies on the feel-good experiences in the game. So there are certain elements that I added for the gameplay to have that feel-good effect. The first is the very obvious particle effect on player-junk collision and the particle effect for object destruction. It was easily achieved using Unity's inbuilt particle system and by simply instantiating the particle effect prefab whenever there is a player-junk collision or if a junk object is destroyed. Then I decided to make the bullet feel more impactful by making the junk flash white on collision with a bullet. I first decided to change the object material to flash white on collision and revert to default material after a small amount of time. But there was a problem with this approach because all the junk sprites had a glow effect, making the flash effect look very weird. And the solution was to use a mask image of the junk sprite along with the flash sprite. And if you're wondering what a mask image is, well, in simple terms, it's just a black and white image in which the background is white pixels and the object shape is black pixels, or the other way around. So having a mask image of the junk sprite allows me to control which portion of the original sprite needs to be visible. So the final implementation is something like this. Whenever there is a junk and bullet collision, I first change the mask interaction mode of the sprite renderer of junk to visible inside mask. Then I changed its sprite to the white flash sprite. Then I reverted back to default sprite and default mask interaction mode after some time. I also wanted the spaceship and junk collision to have some impact rather than just having one simple particle effect, so I added a camera shake effect, for which I created a camera shake script on the main camera, which contained a core routine which on regular intervals moved the camera along the X or Y axis randomly on player and junk collision. And the final thing that I added was a background effect, because having a static background can be pretty dull, so I thought, why not make the background move based on the spaceship's orientation? The basic idea is to always position the background opposite to where the spaceship is pointing. To implement this in code, we first need to find the direction in which the background needs to move, which can be easily found by subtracting the negative up vector of the spaceship from the background position, and then assign the result to the background position inside the update function. And by the way, the separation of the point represented by the up vector of the spaceship and the background position cannot be more than 2 units, since the diameter of the unit circle, that is the circle represented by unit vectors, cannot be more than 2 units. And just like that, we have a space shooter for ourselves. So that's all there is to my game at the moment. I'll definitely add more to this game, so if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get future updates about the game or my other projects. So that's all from me today, and I'm out.